Welcome in, everyone. How are we doing this evening? How's everyone doing?
Hey.
Hoaxsters, linguist, medium Jenny Lee. Welcome into chat.
I'm here. What?
We're going to skip the intro tonight because, from the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, that whole thing, it's going to go away. I got to come up with a new one. And I don't know where that's going to be because we're not going to be in the foothills anymore. So I'll have to find I'll find an appropriate new intro about tearing through the internet and what time it is and where time is and all of that and so on and so forth. But we're here
we'll be
tonight.
Nestled in between a bend in the river and Interstate 95. Yeah. So that's not nearly as exciting as the foothills of Virginia.
Let's come up with a cool name for where we're going to live. But anyhow, it's good to see all of you.
I-95.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been going through this process, and we thought it was going to happen, and then it got pushed back, and so we were like, okay, we'll take a little break, and then we'll get started up in June. But now we're going to be doing that in June. So we have a show for you this evening because we wanted to get one in. And we don't want to stay away for too long. But before we get into our show for tonight, let's do some news. You ready? So, scientists discover a core deep inside the Earth. So this is new scientific research is coming out. A solid ball of iron and nickel. Researchers on Tuesday said an intensive study of Earth's deep interior confirmed the existence of a distinct structure inside our Earth's inner core. And the story goes on to talk about Jules Verne and so. But they've talked now about the Earth's diameter is about 7,900 miles. The planet's internal structure comprises 4 layers, a rocky crust on the outside, a thin rocky mantle, an outer core made of magma, and a solid inner core. This metallic inner core, about 1,500 miles wide, was discovered in the 1930s, also based on seismic waves traveling through the Earth. In 2002, there was a proposition that lurking within this inner core was a section that was separate from the rest, akin to a nesting doll. The increasing sophistication of seismic monitoring enabled this to be confirmed.
But what's the real exciting thing about this that we need to know, Frosty? What have they said? Remember, scientists have said.
Well, so the thing that I brought up when I read this is that when looking at planets that we think could and have life, they said that, and then this is just me, I could be wrong, but I always heard that the planet had to have like a magma core in order for there to be the appropriate electromagnetic field around the planet. And so when scientists were studying some exoplanets that they've discovered, they would say, well, this planet couldn't have life because it doesn't have the electromagnetic field that it would need because it has a solid, or what they would call a dead core. And so I'm wondering exactly what the difference is here if we actually have a solid core, whereas previously it had been kind of proposed that there was some kind of like magma center. It's hot enough to be magma from this news story, but because of the pressure, because of the pressure of the planet, it actually creates the iron and the nickel stay in a solid state. So,
linguists, that's what I've been saying for like the last 20 years. Doesn't include the fact that different species could have totally different requirements for life. We've already found that on our own planet.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But it's interesting because exactly where this conversation went. We're looking outward, and there's still a whole lot of questions about right here where we're at,
We found stuff living in the ocean they didn't think would be able to exist because it was acidic and it was too freaking hot. And guess what? There's life there.
We're trying to figure out what kind of planet in a solar system 2,000 light years away could hold life when we don't even know everything about our own planet. So
they sent a tardigrade out in the frickin' space and it didn't die. So, I mean, was that one of your news stories? I didn't just mess one of them up, did I?
I don't know.
You don't have that one.
The next story that we have is a cyclist in England claims he encountered a telepathic praying mantis alien. A young man in England claims that he had a terrifying encounter with an extraterrestrial that resembled a giant praying mantis, which could communicate with him telepathically. The bizarre incident reportedly occurred this past summer, but only recently came to light when the shaken witness, Paul Froggatt, decided to share his story with the media. According to him, the unsettling event unfolded one morning last July as he was riding his bicycle home from his job at a dog food factory in the town of Warwick. The routine trip took a troubling turn, he recalled, when he first spotted a UFO hovering in the sky. At first I thought it must be Venus or a satellite, he said, but it seemed to be so much closer than either of these things. And after Froggatt had taken some pictures of the anomaly, he noticed that it began rotating. Uneasy about what he was witnessing, the young man fled the scene on his bike and ultimately wound up in a wooded area where he could no longer see the odd object, thinking that the weirdness was behind him. And we know in this show, the weirdness is never over. Froggatt was soon disabused of that notion when he turned a corner and spotted what he can only describe as a humanoid praying mantis. The young man described the curious creature as standing at least 7 feet tall and possessing a triangular head and big oval black eyes. It had
7 foot tall praying mantis. That's like nightmare fuel.
It had all the features of a mantis, but stood on 2 legs and had a somehow human-like shape about it. Gobsmacked by the insect-like entity, Froggatt simply stared into its eyes and felt as if he and the oddity were somehow communicating telepathically. My fear was replaced with complete alien thoughts of utter hatred and evil I felt projected from this thing, he said, recounting the chilling messages. So, I don't know. That's interesting.
I don't know. I always thought praying mantises look like little aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. But why does it have to be evil and malicious?
I don't know. Yeah. That's really interesting because, well, if you go back, we've talked about this before. If you go back and watch the movie Fire in the Sky, and you listen to the interviews done with him in the 1990s and stuff like that, he has a very fearful reaction, and he thinks that there are a lot of negative things going on. But if you go and listen to an interview with him now, he's kind of changed his tune, and he thinks that he was misinterpreting a lot of things that he was being told.
Yeah, because if you're and also if you're scared, you're gonna feel negative things just on your own.
And so his whole story has changed. And for some reason, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but you guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I think for the most part. One thing, and this is the thing that always sticks out to me at the end of this news article. This is a Coast to Coast AM article, by the way. He says he was forced to quit his job after he shared his story with coworkers and quickly became the laughingstock of the dog food factory. Be that as it may, he insists that the incident truly took place and now hopes that someone can come forward to somehow confirm, at the very least, that there was a UFO in the sky that fateful morning. So he just wants someone to corroborate seeing something in the sky so people don't think he's absolute Looney Tunes.
Poor fella. He lost his dog food money.
Yeah. Man, that dog food money could get him some readings. He needs to come hang out with Team Weird. Yeah, we'll welcome him over here. He's welcome to come hang out.
You're welcome to come
any Friday night. Yeah. Thursday, witching hour stream.
Maybe
whatever.
we can
come hang out with us.
We can channel the 7 foot praying mantis entities.
There we go. There's a new.
And then you'll be friends. Yeah.
Here's article number 3 tonight. Scientists finally solved the mystery of how the Mayan calendar works. Now, this is an interesting one.
But they're going to say that they did, but did they?
Here. And this is from Popular Mechanics.
Okay.
That's where I got this all. So right off the top, kind of a guidelines. The 819 days of the calendar must be viewed across a 45-year time period to fully understand it. The movements of all major planets visible to the ancient Mayans fit into this extended calendar. So the Mayan calendar's 819-day cycle has confounded scholars for decades, but new research shows how it matches up to a planetary cycle over a 45-year span. That's a much broader view of the tricky calendar than anyone previously tried to take. In a study published in the journal Ancient Mesoamerica, 2 Tulane University scholars highlighted how researchers never could quite explain the 819-day count calendar until they broadened their view. Although prior research has sought... What's that?
I said, look at that.
Yeah. Although prior research has sought to show planetary connections from the 819-day count, its 4-part color directional scheme is too short to fit well with this synodic periods of visible planets. The study authors write, by increasing the calendar length to 20 periods of 819 days, a pattern emerges in which the synodic periods of all the visible planets commensurate with station points in the larger 819-day calendar. That means that Mayans took a 45-year view of planetary alignment and coded it into a calendar that has left modern scholars scratching their heads in wonder.
Yeah.
So,
get behind that.
So they talk about when you look at it over 16,380 days, or roughly 45 years, you can kind of discover how the calendar was made. And obviously no one had spent 45 years to figure out exactly how it had happened. So now we have a broader understanding of how they at least created their calendar. There's still a lot of myths and rumors.
At this
about
point in
what
time,
it
our attention spans are 45 seconds. So
45
nobody
years.
could spend 45 years trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people. There are.
And then the last story we have tonight is the Hubble telescope spots runaway black hole, leaving behind a trail of new stars.
Terrifying.
If confirmed, the first of its kind find would serve as convincing observational evidence that supermassive black holes can indeed be ejected from their parent galaxies. So just as the thing, like they've kind of discovered that every galaxy, they think, has a supermassive black hole in the center of it. And so they can run free. Astronomers think they've discovered a black hole some 20 million times the mass of the sun, speeding away from the core of a distant galaxy. And as the supermassive black hole barrels through intergalactic space, it's compressing the scant gas and dust available out there, leaving behind a thin line of newly formed stars that's some 200,000 light years long.
Wow.
200,000 light years.
Awesome.
Like a black hole's just zooming across the galaxy, leaving behind an exhaust of new stars.
That's like more time than we can possibly fathom.
200,000 light years long. Despite being relatively thin, the black hole's stellar wake is packed with plenty of hot blue stars, making it nearly half as bright as the parent galaxy it traces back to. Based on the available evidence, the researchers think that this black hole was likely ejected during a complex dance between 3 supermassive black holes that were involved in a pair of galaxy mergers. If confirmed, this would be the first observational evidence showing that supermassive black holes can be ejected from their parent galaxy.
Sounds fun.
And that was the news. Okay. So, what do we have going on tonight? Well, we have with us tonight Diabolic Tutor. Diabolic Tutor is a history teacher by day and a Twitch streamer at night. He streams different guests, and he is the self-proclaimed midbest in the Midwest. And he likes to have fun with his community. Here we're Team Weird, and over there you guys go by the Academy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent.
I like it.
He has an esport organization and coaches there. And he is the co-host of the podcast called In Bed by 9, which he co-hosts with Jeremy, who's been in here a couple times to hang out. And I have, as you guys have most likely heard, my experience on their podcast in Bed by Nine. Welcome in, Diabolic Tutor. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. Thanks for having me come on here and hang out. I
Well,
enjoyed the newscast. I wanted to be quiet. I just wanted to hear it all, people in, and especially the whole thing with the black holes. I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, it sounds like the little brother that got beat up and is now running away from the older brothers. There were a big fight happening. They're running away.
Yeah.
It sounds comical.
Leaving a trail of shit behind him.
Yeah, it's tears of crying, whatever. But yeah, no, it was good. I like those little. It was really fun.
Anything to say about any of the news stories? Anything interesting to you?
No, the mine one is really interesting. I mean, when I was about 10 years ago, I went down to Chichen Itza, and we were there just looking around and absorbing, being a history person, like loving every moment of being down there. That ground is just so, it's weird whenever you go there. It's dead. It feels everything's quiet and it's middle of the peninsula. It is quiet. There's nothing around you, and it's flat. It's straight flat ground, and super daunting to be around, and really cool. But then when we were there, I went around the major pyramid, kind of went around the corner, and ran into a bunch of archaeologists, and they were digging below the pyramid off the side, and they actually like, well, we are finding more civilizations and more things, and we believe there's a whole other group of people that were here before the mines were digging up. I mean, it was 10 years ago. I haven't found any information in papers just yet. But it's kind of they're digging down there. And they were like, yeah, we kind of found some stuff. It's interesting. I'm like, can I jump in the hole with you guys?
Yeah.
You can't jump in the hole. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they're finding out that those pyramids that we see are built on top of older pyramids that are built on top of older pyramids that are built on top of older stuff. It's just like they kept building things in the same places.
Yeah, they were just like a shell. Like they built another pyramid as a shell around the old pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would just make sense. I mean, I'm a I study civilizations, and the main factor with all that. And that's really the point out is that, that place is great for a civilization to grow. And it makes sense why they kept building on top of each other. Now, the whole calendar thing is interesting because I was joking with some people in my stream Tuesday. They're like, well, why all these technologies coming out and people think the ancient world is all this stuff. I'm like, really, if you think about it, they were bored back then. There wasn't TV or games or anything really going on. So when you were sitting around staring at the sky, you come up with cool things. I mean, take away your TV, take away your internet and your games. I bet you come up with some cool stuff too.
Yeah.
So.
And the sky was the entertainment.
And the sky, that's what I was going to say. The sky was so much more prominent then, like to look at the sky and you just see every star. Have you ever had the opportunity? Well, I imagine you have if you've been there, but if you've had the opportunity to live in an area without a lot of light pollution, I mean, it's a completely different thing.
It's amazing. And they have night time there. You can stay there at night, but they don't do it too much. One, because of jaguars. But two, that's what the lady guy goes, yeah, you can stay here. We do it like twice or 3 times a year, but we have like set up like guards and stuff because jaguars. And I go, makes sense. But
let's pet the big kitty.
There's one of the domes you go into. They have an observatory there. So like there's at Chichen Itza, you have the big pyramid. That's really cool to see. Has all the ornate stuff, a lot of great details, and practical details for certain things, the calendars and stuff. And then you have the warrior temple, which is where the warriors would practice, and the warriors would pretty much like a gladiatorial type thing. They would hang out there, and that's where they would be, dorms or something like that. And then they had the observatory. They let you kind of go into the observatory a little bit, but you can see up on the wall like certain holes, and they're like, that's just so they can sit there in a line. And they believe that whole thing was painted on the inside. And so they were like, stories were in there. So when they looked in there, whenever they saw that certain star in that one spot, it was, meant something. I'm like, oh, it's pretty cool. So
that's one of the cool things when we were talking about the kind of the shells of the pyramids earlier. I think that's one of the cool things about it from a historian perspective is the outside of them has been weathered and the paint's gone and all that. But, the ones, when they go inside of them and they found these older pyramids, the paint and stuff, some of the paint is still intact. So then okay, like this is what they had going on, which is information you could probably guess but didn't know for sure before.
Or like even like when they finally figured out how to read the Egyptian, the cartoons in the Egyptian temples and stuff like that, and they finally figured that out, and they're like, oh, this actually makes sense now.
Yeah.
And it's still all painted, and they're like, okay, now I can actually read all this stuff. And those are one of my favorite Google Earths to go into and go look around, try to look inside the pyramids and read the Contusions. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah. I
I
was
haven't done that yet.
I was reading an article the other day. I didn't even talk to you about this, Jimmy, but it was interesting because there was a whole paper put forth that the Great Pyramid at Giza and the Sphinx, like the purpose of them, this paper put forth was that it was basically a very elaborate water fountain. Like the Sphinx, they were talking about like the water levels in the pyramid, like the tunnels were actually created to push water from the Nile through the pyramid into the Sphinx, and they think the Sphinx could be like this elaborate
that would
water
make
fountain.
That could make sense.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was something I never heard before.
I mean, you think about it, historically, the gardens in Babylon, the Hagar Shah, is very similar to that time frame of the pyramids. Could possibly work.
Yeah, and you think about the geography of that they know that that the Nile flooded closer to the pyramid than it does now, or the pyramids, I should say.
They were masters of water usage.
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was just something I never heard before, so I thought that was interesting.
Linguist was wondering if you have ever done it with a VR headset.
Oh no, I would probably lose myself. I'd get totally confused.
Just be there forever.
I'd be sitting here just lost. The Google Earth, I get lost on Google Earth. I'm like, a big history person. I like traveling. I haven't been able to travel too much in my life, but like I'll sit on Google Earth and hit the little like rolling dice and like land in random places and like, oh, this is super fun.
Yeah.
But my students enjoy that because I get lost and I get all weirded out with it. Like, look at this cool little place over here. There's look at the whole building. There's the whole building over here. The flags on it and the guys. It's so little. And like, oh, like, you're such a nerd.
Yeah, it's fun. So that Hoaxsters is just as excited as we are. I think there's actually a Google Earth VR.
Yeah.
So there we go. Now we have something to try out.
Oh.
Yeah, dangerous.
Okay, so I guess we'll get started at the beginning.
Okay.
Which is we were talking a little bit when I was going on your show in Bed by 9, which all that's pinned at the top of the chat.
Thank you,
if anyone
Keisha.
wants to know where to go to follow all of Diabolic Tutor's stuff, click there and go get it all. Follows and listens and all of those things.
Follow on Twitch and follow for the podcast.
Yes, for sure.
We're trying, especially with them Bed by 9, we're really trying to get on to the next level, pushing it a little bit more. We're growing quite a bit and appreciate it. I mean, your podcast you jumped on, we got a lot of subscribes and downloads, so it was really cool.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
So we're hoping to kind of get a little bit pushed that a little bit more to the next level. But if you do, if you're listening here, the podcast, it's content creation, and Jeremy and I are both dads. We talk about life as that and video games and all those things. A few rants here or there, but pretty cool times. But yeah, it'd be cool if you did. If we can get some, that'd be great. But
yeah,
awesome. It's right there at the top.
It's a cool listen.
Our wonderful mod Keisha, who knows how to do stuff like that.
Thank you, Keisha.
Yeah, we have quite a few people in our community that stream and stuff like that, and so it's definitely a good podcast to go check out. To kind of talk a little bit of inside baseball, because sometimes like a lot of people don't want to talk about that. It's like a hidden sauce and like don't look at the man behind the curtain, the kind of thing. But it's for people who are doing this, it's important to kind of talk about it and what works for some people and what are some frustrations and what things are going really awesome and all those kinds of things. But when I was on there, because I was the weird guy coming on, we got talking a little bit about some of your personal paranormal experiences. So yeah, so we got some time. So why don't we go ahead and start with kind of like how all of this started for you?
Okay, so to the beginnings. All right. So where I kind of fit in with stuff, I guess you say, is I like it, I'm more of the paranormal when it comes to like the ghosts and spirits and stuff of that nature. Um, I've always kind of been that way growing up. Not as much anymore, and I'll explain that a little bit too. But in the past, especially when I was younger, I used to see, shadows and things moving around my house quite a bit, and used to be able to, kind of not connect with them, but kind of just be able to know, hey, something's going on or something's up, and not really communicate. But I was able to see that stuff. And I have a couple good stories from the past, like where I was like in middle schooler, and I remember stuff in elementary. Like I would see people, like my grandparents would come visit me. I would see relatives from the past. I would see. We grew up on a actually old homestead farm that was gone, and then we built a house on top, and I would see them walking around. I knew who they were. Like I didn't tell me, but I knew like, okay, they used to live here. I know that. I could tell they were here, and I used to know where they lived. And the ground we grew up, or the ground too, I found out was all clay and very hard ground, very limestone, very solid ground. And so that kind of plays into it to my mind a little bit more. And then
So was this only happening like at that specific location, or did it happen to you at other places too?
other places too. I just noticed it there more because I was younger, and that's
Yeah.
where I lived when I was a kid. And then what really kind of sparked it for me, and actually it helped, explain that I was understanding or seeing things, was one day I was about middle school, got up, getting ready for school, kind of in a daze, getting in the shower, cleaning myself up, going down, I'm like, oh, I don't have a shirt. I need to go downstairs to get that one black shirt that's in the basement. So went downstairs, and I had a cat at the time that was dead-eyed down the stairs. Like there was something at the stairs. His ears were back, his hair was down. He was sitting there like ready to jump on something. So I thought the other cat was at the bottom of the stairs, trying to come up. I looked down at the bottom of the stairs, and there's a guy standing at the bottom of the stairs. And I'm going, okay, there's a dude down there.
Guess I'm not wearing that black shirt today.
And I was just like looking at him, and I turned the light on. The guy was gone. Turned the light off. Guy was there.
Oh,
But
wow.
this time I started to see, more of his features. I noticed that he had overalls on. He looked more like a farmer. He had a big hat on. I couldn't see his face, but I could see he had a big hat. I kept turning the light on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off. And I turned it on one more time, I turned it off one more time, and then he started to look up at me. And he looked at me, and I was like, okay, hi. Turned it back on. And I was like, well, gotta go with the shirt. I went downstairs, I got the shirt. Like, I didn't feel scared of him. So I'm like, I knew it wasn't a bad thing. It was just somebody at the bottom of the stairs. And then, like I said, it kind of was normal to me to kind of see shadows or something happening. And I kind of knew where like bad shadows were, bad things were. I knew where good things were, things that wouldn't bug me. So I went downstairs, got my shirt, went to school, no big deal. Told my dad about it the next day. I'm like, hey, there was a dude in the basement. The cat saw it. He goes, oh, you saw, can't remember his name. I was going to call him Paul. He's actually a great uncle of mine.
Oh, wow.
And I went, he was like, do you hear balls bouncing around every once in a while? I go, yeah, that's Paul. He just comes and he bounces the ball in the basement or in a room in the house, and we just know it's Paul. And I said, oh, okay. Didn't think anything of it. And I'm like, he's like, here, let me show you a picture. He showed me a picture. I'm like, is that Paul? I'm like, yep, that's Paul.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it's just it's one of our old relatives that just goes around the houses and says hi.
So that was like major validation confirmation that like what you were seeing was for real. Yeah.
Like I saw something, and before I thought it was just shadows or darkness or just eyes playing tricks. But then I'm like, oh, I saw Paul. So it's kind of cool to kind of think that, hey, I have this family ghost that kind of hangs out. So occasionally, even now where I live here, I'll hear a ball bouncing. And I know Paul's hanging out, checking out on the family, It's kind of cool.
Still making his rounds.
Yeah, making his rounds to see how things are going. And so growing up then validated that. And so I started to try to lean into it a little bit more. Like when I saw the shadows, I went to go try to figure out what the shadow was. I went to go try to make sure there was no glare. And I went to go look a little bit more and try to figure out what happened. So time progresses. I'm now about 16 years old. My friends kind of figured out that I saw ghosts, and they like that, and they think it's fun. So they would come over, and they would see ghosts too, or they would think they see something. Like, hey, was that a ghost? I'm like, no, that was just my mom dropping laundry down the chute. Don't worry. stuff like that. And we would go ghost hunting and, go to the local haunts in the area we were at to go see if we could find some stuff. And we would occasionally see some things, and I would point it out to them, like, where? I'm like, over there, there's a ghost. You can see him moving around. Like, where? I'm like, over there. Or used to be an old insane asylum, and they would go try to go there and break in and see the ghost in the insane asylum. Like, one, I don't like going to insane asylums, and two, it's a federal offense to go break into a federal building. So, no, I'm not going to do that. But they would go try to get me to go, but I was like, no. But I would go hang out outside of it, and we would take cameras and try to scope into the buildings or scope around it. And we would see a few things, like, wandering souls and people like kind of aimlessly moving through. Like, I had old video footage of them just kind of wandering. You kind of just catch a guy wandering through the woods. And
all of these experiences you're seeing with your eyes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Paul standing at the bottom of the stairs. You see him like he's a person just standing there. Wow.
I would see them, and my friends could see them occasionally when I pointed it out, and I would occasionally then have to like point it to them more in depth, and then maybe use a camera to kind of help focus it in for them. Yes, I still have the videos. I have to go find them. They're at my parents' house, to be honest. They also might have a bunch of footage of me being like a 14-year-old kid running around with a camera, jumping around and doing like, CKY jackass stuff. But hey.
Well, yeah, so that's understandable. So it sounds like your parents were pretty open about that kind of stuff too.
Well, my dad used to say he sees things. He used to see things as a kid, and then when he became more of an adult, he stopped seeing as much.
Yeah.
And then my mom has the gift of gab, but she seems to be able to, like, I don't know, she just knows things.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she's telepathic, but she she just reads things. She just knows stuff.
It sounds like you got both of their abilities. Like, you can see stuff like your dad, but you also know whether it's good or bad or whatever from your mom. That's pretty interesting.
My grandmother on my mom's side used to see things, and she would say that, she would say that person's an angel, that person's a devil based on what they are, who they are. She always called me an angel because she's like, I can see your wings. I can see who you are as a person. I can see how you're going to act. And then one of the person's like, that person's got demon eyes. That person is going to be evil. That person's got this. So she would always point those out to things. I mean, being other than her grandson, I believe in her. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She might have been a little biased about you, though.
And she always would say, too, like, hey, when I pass, you'll dream of a feather, and that's me.
Oh,
and stuff like that nature.
That's so sweet.
Small things like that. Or she'll say, I'll drop a feather on your lap. So it's all kind of cool.
Awesome.
Cute. So,
yeah.
But, that was like those couple experiences I had there. And then, so occasionally we would do that stuff. And then went into college, found out through college when the dorms I was at was highly active. And that was always great because I always saw people breaking in my room, but really there wasn't people breaking into my dorm. It just was my ghosts wandering around because it was an old graveyard that was pillaged by the medical facility.
Oh, good Lord.
Over, so they were, occasionally I get like some random person walking my room and they were more malicious than I want them to be.
Yeah. Wonder where their bones and shit are.
Yeah. And they would come in.
Where's my toe?
Nightmares were always really bad and sleeping was never happening. So
no.
Yeah. So it was always fun, and then learned that a lot. And one of my dorm mates was like, you see these ghosts? I'm like, yeah, I do a lot. It's really fun. And they're like, well, let's go ghost hunting then. I found all these cool stories. Let's go check this out. All right, let's go. So we would go look at...
You reluctantly keep getting pulled into ghost hunts.
Yeah.
I do. I've always, I'm interested in it, right? I'm always intrigued by these ghost hunts. I see them, but it's always just the faint enough see. Like I see them, I can feel them, but they're there, but I want to go farther. I want to know more. I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to know where the missing toe was.
Yeah. Well, like that's the history part of you. You want to know their story. Yeah.
I want to get that information. So, and also wanted to validate to myself, am I still seeing these ghosts? Do I still see these beings? And I was like, okay, well, we'll go to these ghost hunts and go wander around and do the cemetery here, go over to this asylum over there. There's supposed to be a dead ghost in this restaurant. Can we find them? And so I did a few of those, got a few EVPs, got a few, hear the recording on the old cell phone. You kind of hear that stuff. And you hear them say that and stuff like that. So we did all that, cool, fun stuff with, what we could do with college level currency and minimal understanding of what we were doing. So it was pretty fun. Nothing too crazy, nothing too terrifying. And then I would go home, and the way that my house was also very interesting, especially after I started doing that in college. I would go home in the summer and I would play games at night on my computer, sitting there. And then I felt like doing the stuff in college, like, kind of opened the door more for me, and like open that. I always had to kind of creak the door, but now I had it a little more open. So I was more receptive to things. And I would sit there, and right around like 1 o'clock, 1:30, I would start to see more activity in my house, or activity around me. Like right outside my dining room. So like where my desk was in my living room, I looked across my house, and there would be my dining room window in the dining room, and then a chandelier. And so I would sit there, I'd be playing StarCraft, middle of the night, because I had to play after time. The internet wasn't really there yet, so I had to wait for the dial-up to go away.
Those fun times. Yeah.
And, everyone had to be in bed to dial it. The phone had to be off the hook. So I was like, cool. Start playing games, playing StarCraft, and then I looked over, and I would always see somebody's face in the window. I always thought somebody was outside, to the point where, like, I went outside and looked and made sure there was not somebody hiding outside my house with their face in the window. But I would catch their face in the window. Always be like a white face, very pale person. And it was always there. Like, I was about 1:30 to 2 o'clock, I would catch somebody like looking in the window at me or just into the window.
That's creepy.
It's always weird too, because in any experiences I've had, it's always been the same way too, where it's like they always look creepy. But like if you had the power to give off the way you looked, like I would be my best self. You know what I mean?
Why would you choose to?
I'd have
creepy?
my old long hair back. I'd be all Fabio-ing it up through the window, and everyone would be like, "Man, who's that hot guy outside the window?"
Like, yeah, exactly. No, they're sitting there like chops hanging down. But yeah, this like a couple of them I remember, like the best way to say, like a Nixon style face, like a big nose, big like one of those kind of guys, and that's why I thought it was a mask. I'm like, it's a mask. Someone's out there with a mask, but no, it's not that. Some, I see a lot of women in the mask things, but it was always right there. And then also noticed like the chandelier would start to spin, start to move, just in a circle, and then figured out that, hey, that window is I was like 42 point something latitude, 42 point something longitude. I'm like, oh, probably a vortex.
Yay.
No wonder I see a lot of things in my house.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense. Right at that window. So then I started to like stop playing at 1 o'clock. I was like, told my friends, okay, I'm done at 1. I'm going to bed. I'm just tired of seeing this.
That's when creepy Nixon guy comes in, sits in the window.
Yeah. Nixon on my window.
We had something very similar to that. Same kind of thing. That would happen. So I know what that experience is like when you're trying to get your video games in and you can't because the ghost won't leave you alone.
Something. Yeah.
There's always it just bugs you. You're like sitting there, especially because, like I said, I think because I went to college, it opened the door more, so that I thought they were more receptive. I don't know if they were like coming to ask me something or come find me or look for me. I don't know. Like, it just was not something I wanted to do.
I don't know. Have we told this story? We had to have on this show at some point about the place we lived.
We have, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll abbreviate it just for you, just because the stories are kind of similar. We were living in a place, and our son was the one who just graduated, was just getting ready to be born.
Like where he lived when he was born. Yeah.
And so we had created like a whole room and stuff to be his nursery and all that stuff. And I did the same thing. I was working. I wasn't going to college. I didn't go to college a lot later, but anyway, same thing. I lived way out in the country, and we had dial-up internet, and EverQuest 2 had come out, and me and Fumbi, we were playing EverQuest 2 all the time, and trying to play an MMO back in the day on dial-up was absolute atrocity.
horrible.
Why
would you?
But it's what we had, and it was awesome at the time. So, because Jenny was pregnant and going to bed early, a lot of times where we had lived before, I would stay up till 1, 2 in the morning playing games or whatever. And when we moved into this place and got it all set up, it would get to the point where she would go to bed, and I could just feel something staring at me, and like so much so that I couldn't enjoy playing the game.
No.
So I'd be like, man, and then, it got to the point where Jenny was like, I'm going to bed, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, actually, I'm coming with you, So then I just started going to bed early, which I'm like a night owl. So I was just like, oh, let me go to bed.
Yeah, you just want to be done. You're like, I'm going to go to sleep because if I'm asleep, they don't bug me.
They don't bug me. And then I would lay there in my bed, and then I started seeing where they were like, I felt like something was watching me while I was trying to go to sleep. And here I am, a grown man at the time, like not wanting to get up and use the bathroom in the middle of the night or something because I knew something was just there. Not that I was afraid of it, but it was just like really bothersome. And then I said I was gonna make this short, but I won't. When our son was born, he wouldn't sleep in his nursery, at all. Like he would. At the second we went in there, he would start crying and screaming. Yeah. And so we would just bring him into our room, and he was fine once he was in there. And that continued to happen the whole time we lived there. Like it got oppressive to the point where none of us ever wanted to be like in the main living area because it was at nighttime. It was always just something staring at you. Never saw anything, but the feeling that you got from it was just oppressive and heavy. Yeah. And we didn't live there for very long. We kind of got out of there, and I was always kind of worried that something would follow or something, but we never really seemed to have too much of a problem with that. So,
but that's where you're getting your new job.
It is. I'll be working in that area, not at that
county. Yeah, the county where we have that experience.
Maybe, but hey, wait a second, you're back here. I'm gonna go hang out with you.
But there's a connection that the house we were living in, we rented from a friend of ours, and the friend of ours. While on one hand, he wasn't really into like the paranormal experience stuff, like he didn't really believe in it. He had told me stories before about how when he was a kid, he would see a shadow standing at the foot of his bed with red eyes. And it had been there his whole childhood. Like even when he moved, it followed him. And then we were renting
and we were living in his house.
Yeah, you found something fun.
And so to this day, I have no clue what it was. But when you were talking about playing StarCraft and wanting to go to bed early, I had to share it because I had the same experience. Yeah.
I had to say this, though. Since I've had you on this podcast before, I've been having those moments more and more at night because I do stream late into the evening. And now I'm like, when I'm done streaming, the light turns off when... I'm having more and more moments. So you're
tonight ought to be fun then.
Yeah, you're keeping my doors open again. Thanks.
So Bree wanted to hear your worst experience.
I heard that one. The worst. So I got chat open, so I'm kind of seeing some stuff pop up there. So like they would say, "Hey, did I go ghost hunting?" I amateur ghost hunting as much as possible. But what turned me off from really all of this. Well, before I get to that one, like when my grandparents passed away, and the best way to say this, and this was like a nice story before I get to the nasty one. Once they passed away, there was one night I woke up and I was laying in bed, and I'm a high schooler. I'm laying in bed and I felt something at the foot of my bed that was stopping my foot from moving. So I thought it was the dog. So I was like, "Get off, Duke, like, go." And then it wasn't Duke, so I kind of woke up, and the foot of the bed, red eyes, but mine were nice eyes because it was my grandmother sitting in the foot of the bed. And next to her was my grandfather standing next to my dresser. Like they were just shadows, but I knew who that person was. That was my grandma. That was my grandfather. And there was two other beings in the room just checking me out. One I'm assuming was Paul, but hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's two other people in the room just checking me out. And I remember saying, "Hey, hi guys, I'm trying to sleep. Can we go to bed?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then they all laughed. Yeah. Like they laughed when I said that, so it was nice. Like, okay, and I just kind of felt a nice like ease of like happiness over me, and I went to sleep. It was good feelings, right? So to play into the bad story, after doing all the college stuff and kind of coming home, my friends in high school were still friends with me. They're like, hey, we really need to go to this one place. We know you see ghosts. We've done ghost hunting with you. We want to go here and see if it's a lie or if it's fake. I said, okay, where are we going? I'll go with you. We'll figure it out. And they're like, okay, we're going to go to this place called the Shoe Tree. Now, I grew up in a place in Michigan. I'm going to say it out loud. Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. And the Shoe Tree is a urban legend / historical fact that's been kind of talked about. Now, the Shoe Tree is the town I used to grow up in used to be an amusement park next to it. I grew up in Walled Lake, I'll say Rose, and there used to be an amusement park there. And, Elvis was there, big names were there back in the day because it was just outside of Detroit. It was the country, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So the Shoe Tree was a tree that this guy would murder children, particularly, and put their shoes into a tree. They caught him and found shoes in the tree, proceeded to prosecute the guy. So the Shoe Tree was still there. My friends figured out what tree it was and wanted me to go to the tree. I was like, okay. Like, very moment of going, reluctant feelings over my body. But I was like, okay, I will go. And I was like, okay, let's go check it out. And people say, I've heard of it before. Yep, it's out there.
Yeah, we have some Michiganders in chat, so.
Yeah.
So I've been to a few haunts in Michigan, I'll say that much. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go check out the Shoe Tree. And you've been there? Okay, so we may have been in the same circles. All right. So the tree went there, rolled up. It's in a field. They were building a development next to it. So that's why they found it, because there was development next to it. And there's trees still there in this open field. No trees have been around it for a long time. It's always been this big open field. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I'm rolling up to it. It is starting to get dark. That dusk feeling is hitting. And it's just as darkness kind of comes down. And I'm rolling up to it, and I get out of the car, and with my one friend, I'm walking to the tree, and I see something at the foot of the tree. Now, not standing, not looking away, very Gollum-like Smeagol hunched over, facing the tree, doing something with their hands, just kind of like that. Very like if you think of Gollum from the Lord of the Rings, that's what I saw. Just a dark, shadowy thing bent over. And as soon as I saw it, a moment of dread hits me. I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even that far to the tree, like maybe 50 yards out. I'm like, I don't want to be here. My friend's like, why? I'm like, no, like don't want to be here. Don't want to have happen. And I went to go try to stop my friends going to it because they were ahead of me going farther. I'm like, hey guys, we got to turn around. Like, no, like just trust me. Bad juju's like, turn around. And I was walking to them, and I got probably about 30 yards away from it, and it turned and looked at me. And it was peering, just laser beam eyes looking straight at me. Like, it felt that I knew it was there.
Mm-hmm. And
My friends
you
were
could
about
see
10
it,
yards
yeah.
away from it, but they turned around and looked just this beady, white, black outline just right into my soul. And I was just like, all right, guys, we're gone.
Yeah.
I didn't lose. I kept staring at it as I backed away until it moved or did something else. I stared at it, just looking dead at it too, because I didn't want it to, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. Like, I figured, like, if I was like a bear, maybe staring at the bear and
Yeah.
like
Back away slowly.
Yeah. So I just kind of kept
No sudden movements.
just backing up. And my one friend that was with me saw my face turn white. He said, "You just turned dead white." And I saw that, and I knew I didn't need to go any farther. It's like, you just start backing up, and you were just white as can be. And I just kept going straight back. And got in the car. He got in the car with me, and I drove off. And I called him and said, right when I got to the car, about to drive off, I looked over at it still. Before I took my eyes off, it looked to my friends. I got in the car and took off, and it went towards my friends.
Yeah.
And I called them up, like, you guys don't come over. So I was like, go home.
Yeah.
Bathe in something. I don't know. Go get some holy water. Just like, don't come to my house for like 35 days or something.
Lots of salt. Lots of salt.
Yeah. It's like, leave me alone. And they're like, why? I'm like, I don't know. But the one friend had migraines for 2 days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, hey, she had constant migraines. The other one was not feeling good for like a couple days after that. I'm like, yeah, there was something there staring at you guys and went after you.
Ugh.
Like, I got out of there as fast as I could. I just remember staring at him, and then there's that moment of like looking at them and just like going like this. And I got in the car and ran.
Yikes.
But like, I mean, I'm that friend, but I just knew that if it, I don't know, if it got to me, that it would be worse or something. I don't know. I just had that dread feeling over me. But ever since that, I really took a very conscious effort to shut the door.
Yeah.
You know, and like I was like, I don't want anything to come by or anything near me or to do it anymore. They would call me out and say,
like,
hey,
done.
let's go and do this. I'm like, no, I'm done. I need to stop. And I have. Like, it's been nice. I've been stopping everything. So
I feel like I
Well-
needed to burn a little incense after that story.
Yeah.
something lunch.
Chat's going to start looks like they're planning a field trip to.
Yep, they're all going to go to the tree.
Well, send me a message. I'll show you the address if you really want where it's at. Okay.
Amber said she felt dread as well when she went there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not a pretty sight. Like, it's one of those most, like, it's, I remember walking to, it's like very much like a spooky movie scene. Like, you think about like a terrifying movie. It's a tree kind of on a hill, field, just one random tree, kind of crooked and not clean.
Yeah.
And just but yeah, there's a little Smeagol there that.
You know, that's interesting because I feel like so many places have that place, right? Like, it might not be the shoe tree. In Virginia, we have a place called Bunnyman's Bridge. There's all kinds of places like that that exist everywhere. And, you know, sometimes I wonder if it's not, even if the myths surrounding these places, which, you know, like you said, you had seen like about of what had happened there, but like in my research for the Bunnyman Bridge, I think it's pretty much just a myth, but people still swear that they see stuff there. And I almost wonder if just the negative energy around those places doesn't either attract negative things or create negative things, because so many people go to these kinds of places and see all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody says, Michigan's got full of those weird stuff. I mean, I always topographically. So I've done research in the paranormal, like looking at like, well, you know, a lot of paranormal activity follows, and you call me wrong because I don't do too much into it nowadays. And you probably have way more research than I do, sitting in this chat thinking that I'm supposed to be an expert or anything. But that Michigan itself, the way that it is designed and the soil behind it and the clay mixture and the limestone and just the Petoskey and all that stuff, it's so old because the way that the lakes were formed and the glaciers were done, like the soil is old. Like the land itself is old. So there's a lot of stories around Michigan for many different things. Like in my little area when I grew up, they had that at Buno Road. That was Wishing Range. That was that road is terrifying. It's a dirt road. It is the darkest road I've ever been on in my life. Gets darker when you drive down it. Lights don't work well. You see shadows moving all along the sides. And we used to see things there all the time, like winged beasts and shadows moving in the distance and stuff of that nature. Just dark.
It's surrounded by water too.
Yeah.
You know, which is another supposedly like a conductor for the paranormal.
Yeah.
And then,
limestone and water. Yep.
yeah, but then we talk about that, the whole the Red Dwarf of Detroit. That's a good myth that's been idolized a little bit, but
I was just going to ask you about like you know, if there's any cryptids that
Dogman's one. The Red Dwarf of Detroit, or the
What is the Red Dwarf of Detroit? This is a new one for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So Detroit. So Detroit was once colonized by the French, and prior to that, wasn't part of anything. It was kind of a Native American part of the Iroquois lead. And the Iroquois used to talk about this mischievous little red dwarf that would go around and just cause problems. And when they see the red dwarf, bad things would happen, aka a disease outbreak or bad crops would happen. And they would tell the French this and say, hey, there's this thing happening. Well, with the march of Pontiac onto Fort Detroit to, remove the settlers there, the French settlers, one of the settlers wrote in the thing, they saw this small man running around in the woods outside the fort. And then they got attacked and, killed. So that's always been a joke there. And then different things have happened in Detroit, like before the Detroit riots, there was the images of people saying they saw a little red thing running around Detroit, and that caused the riots to start up. And then when y'all know what Devil's Night is? Have you heard of that out there?
Yes, we know about that from the Crow.
Yes, Michigan, Detroit started that. So that was the whole story with the
Fire
arson.
it up, fire it up. Yeah.
Yep. So there's always been people saying they saw the little red devil running around during that time with the fire and that stuff. So it's a cool little cryptic that's kind of like a bad omen for Detroit. And now in late October, it's a little parade that happens in Detroit for it because it's kind of fun.
To do a parade for it?
Yes. There's a small group of people that do a little fun parade for it nowadays.
Well, I guess that's...
Detroit needs to change its... You guys need to change the hockey team name because the New Jersey Devils have their little New Jersey Devil. I think Detroit needs the Red Dwarf mascot.
Yeah.
Wings. I mean, come on, it makes sense. It's
red wings. Yeah.
It's kind of in that like red world, but
yeah.
They didn't want to be that way.
Yeah.
But then you have the Dog Man that's for the UP. That's not a werewolf, but a werewolf, kind of cryptic.
We had a guest on not that long ago that was talking about dogmen and wolfmen in Virginia.
Yep.
That's like that's probably the most cited one for us in Virginia when it comes to cryptids.
Yep.
So that's
the
interesting.
Dogman that runs around like Traverse City / that Northern Peninsula part. The UP, you have what's that light called? It's a light that floats around you can't get to. It's a floating light. I can't remember the name, but it's like light Pohawk or something like that. I don't remember the name, but it's up in the UP. You can never catch it. It's always floating there. You always go towards it, but never catch it. It moves around.
I think I've seen some about that, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that before. There's something that strikes familiar there.
Yep. And then, I mean, come on. It's a state that has heaven and hell in it.
Yeah.
Michigan and heaven, Michigan. I mean, there's a lot of things. In the UP, it's very barren, open land. There's a lot of, copper everywhere. It's got that soil. It's got the old dirt, got scraped ground. I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
I like that you think about what the location has to offer to make it, like, fuel it, Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was, like I said, in middle school, high school, I was like trying to figure this stuff all out. And, using the old websites and that great color, dial-up internet.
Yep, your dial-up internet.
Yeah, search those things up because I was always kind of curious, like, why am I seeing all these things here, and then I see them other places. So it was always an interesting thing for me.
Very cool stories.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I'm gonna have to look up the Red Dwarf.
Yeah,
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, the Red Dwarf. That's it. It's
Detroit.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Actually, how I learned of him actually was from Ben Thompson. If you ever heard of him, he's an author that wrote the Badass series of books. He does funny history stories on. First, he did it on like characters or like famous people, preferably like military, like Genghis Khan. But the way he writes it is comically done and very vulgar. Not a classroom book you would put in your classroom to enjoy, but they're really good. Then he did one on like science fiction ones, like Darth Vader, the Darth Vader chapter is really funny. And then he did one on myth and cryptics and stuff like that. And that's where I learned it from, was in there. And then I went and did research and dived into it more. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I learned it from his book and then looked up some more information.
Pretty
So
weird stuff.
Excellent. That's interesting. And it's like I've been waiting to hear, because I told you to hold on to the story when we were talking before the podcast last time. And it's just so interesting because, like I said, when I was going on In Bed by 9, it's like one of the things I just happened to mention is like the thing that I love about discussing this stuff is you can talk to anybody, and more often than not, that person is going to say something along the lines, well, or even be like, well, I don't really believe in that stuff, but this one time.
Yeah.
This one time, I mean, I don't know what, I can't explain it, and then the one time I was talking about it happened on your podcast. Yeah. So, and it just happens consistently. And there was something else I was thinking about too earlier when you were talking about seeing things. I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if it's gonna escape my mind. I might have to come back to it. But it has something to do with the fact of like, oh, I know what it was. You were saying that since you talked to me, you started seeing things again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's so easy. And I think this is one of the things that creates a lot of issues with paranormal discussion. Mm-hmm. Is it's really easy not to see things. It's really easy because our minds are logical. I tend to think our minds are logical. And so when it sees something it's not expecting to see, it almost just wants to gloss over it. Like your brain almost just wants to be like, yeah, that's not there.
Yeah, that was whatever. Yeah. Make up a story.
What you think about it too is like, I always joked I'm really good at like seek and find puzzles. I'm really good at hide and seek. Like, solid, I'll find you, no problem. So I kind of thought like my brain, is wired that way. I'm very observant. I'm very, I'm always looking at everything and checking things out. So like, I'm able to see that stuff. And then when I started shutting down, I noticed that, my seek and find skills were not the best. So maybe that's what it was. So yeah. I don't think it was because I was receptive or not receptive, like a medium, like pulling stuff in. I was more like, I'm receptive to the situation. I was open to that idea. Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that all that's connected though. So like if you're not looking for it, it's easy to not see it. It's easy to explain it away. And then when it's on your mind, you go, hold on a second. What was that I saw peeking around the corner? Because that's happened to me where I've seen something and I've been like, nothing's there. And then one night I'm like, holy crap, what is that looking at me down the hallway? And it's just because I finally decided to acknowledge it. Whereas before my brain would just kind of go over it. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. Just another example of that.
Well, isn't there you guys are both the history fellas here, isn't there a story about one of the first Native American tribes when Christopher Columbus came through, they didn't even see the ships? It's like they couldn't even see the ships because
I saw a documentary on that.
Their brains weren't ready for it.
Oh, no, they thought it was clouds. They thought it was a fog rolling in. They saw the sails, and to them it looked like a cloud moving in.
Because they had never seen anything like that. So their brains are trying to make sense of it with something they knew. Yeah.
And they were just saying, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I had seen some kind of documentary before that said like essentially like it took a while for the Native Americans to be able to like recognize the ships as being like a material thing. Because they hadn't seen anything like it before, so there was like a process of a few days that had to take place for them to like reconcile what they were actually like witnessing with these giant ships coming in.
Yeah.
Even think about more modern things, like you talk about like these tribes in Africa or the South America that never seen a white person, and they think they're ghosts. You know, you hear a love story all the time in the last 20th century is like, hey, this random person shows up and they're amazed that there's no pigment in their skin. They couldn't figure them out. I mean,
Yeah.
not surprising. The human mind works that way.
Or maybe it was just your Richard Nixon ghost that went and visited them.
Probably was. I don't know.
He's peeking in the hut windows.
Staring in the hut windows. Looking for me again.
Get out of here,
looking
Richard
all
Nixon.
Creepy, looking all creepy. Not doing their best self. Yeah. I'm not a crook. Yeah.
Yeah,
not
Ronan,
a ghost.
it's all Ronan.
Welcome in, Ronan. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah. So a cool thing too, and to tie into, I guess, kind of in my story a little bit more, is now my son, he's in kindergarten, and I think it started this December or so. He started talking about how he saw things.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody, and I go, "Are you scared of the somebody?" He said, "No, I'm not scared." I'm like, "Okay, that's Paul. Just say hi to Paul, and if he bugs you because you need to sleep, tell him to go away, and he'll go away." And he goes, "Okay." So occasionally at night, I'll hear him, "Paul, go away." And I'm like, "Okay." So it's kind of funny because I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then he's like, "All right, bye." And occasionally I hear, you know, he'll say something to somebody in a room, and I'm like, "Okay." So he's starting to see things.
Yeah. And the cycle begins all over again.
And then my little one that's 2 will come downstairs, and I think this is also helping my door creak back open because I'm now kind of curious if he's seeing things or he's seeing a shadow. But my little one will come downstairs, and I have a basement. There's like, I'm going to kind of use my hands here to kind of explain it, but there's like stairs here, and then, you know, big open space, and there's a doorway over there. And this is an older house. I've lived here for this older home we moved into. And he keeps talking about he sees a ghost in the door to like the laundry room. I'm like, this could be a shadow. You know, I'm trying to explain to him, this is a shadow. You know, he's like, no, ghost. I'm like, okay, it's a ghost. So I'm trying to figure out if the ghost here is, you know, malicious or not, or what he wants to do, or they want to do, I should say.
Or if it's wearing a big hat.
Or it's wearing a big hat.
Or if it looks like Richard Nixon.
Or it looks like Richard Nixon. Don't be around me, and I swear if it's him, I'm going to ask questions. What? Tell me, were you really a crook? Like,
Yeah.
man, so much greater picture to get out of him. I mean, wonderful. Great book. But it just, as I'm leaning back looking around the monitor to see what I have, but occasionally I feel like there's somebody over there too. They don't ever enter the room, which is weird. So I don't think it's Paul because they never enter the room. They're just stuck behind. It is also weird that behind that door there's a bunch of scratch marks on the door, but that's because of a dog. I'm gonna call it a dog.
Hope so.
It's low. It's a low dog type. So
yeah,
we'll leave it as a dog.
Yeah.
We won't go malicious on it.
No, well, stay away from that.
Yeah. That's the laundry room, so it's what it is. But I don't ever get bad juju vibes. I never get the bad vibes. I just kind of get there's somebody over there I know there, but I never get the dread. So
well, that's good.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because I think a lot of times you get the energy and you can tell. And even for a lot of people, I think too, even like at first they'll kind of get the bad energy, but it's really like it's just like their own fear. You know, like they're creating their own fear. It's not necessarily
fear of the unknown.
Yeah, not that there can't be bad things, but
yeah.
I agree with that. I think that a lot of times you're just terrified. You see some shadow and you're scared. And I mean, it's nice that I feel like I'm past that point of like, hey, there's a shadow. I should be scared of it, which is good.
Yeah, like when your grandparents came to visit you, if you hadn't had all those other experiences already, that probably would have been terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even after the, golem, that's all I'm calling him, after the shoe tree, for a while, every shadow scared me because I thought something was following me. And that's why I really shut myself off for everything and just kind of like go away. Like occasionally my wife would hear me say like, please leave me alone. I'm not talking. Please leave. I'm not here. I see you, but I don't want to acknowledge you. Leave. And, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just need to talk this out real quick. And she's like, you're weird. I'm like, I know. Just leave me alone.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
you know, but the thing about it is like, you know, that's a choice that I think people should have. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, like not everybody wants to deal with that, you know?
No.
And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily. You know,
Even
like,
for me, I'm a medium and I talk to dead people on a regular basis every week, probably at this point, like 1,000 of them. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, when they come to try to get my attention, I'm like, no, piss off. I'm sleeping, like this can wait until tomorrow. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's happening. It's sleepy time right now. And you are going to wait till later. Okay,
You
bye.
have the time. I don't. Let me sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They got nothing but time, evidently.
Yeah, exactly. There's no time for you. Right now it's sleepy time for me. So, no. Yeah.
So
Not gonna
I'm going to
happen.
throw it out there just in case. So we have Diabolic Tutor on. We were talking about some of his paranormal experiences to kind of reset
His
here.
links to follow are pinned at the top
Pinned
up
at
there.
the top.
So you should go follow him because he's a streamer, if you didn't realize that. And then they also have a podcast, In Bed by 9, him and his friend Jeremy, not our Jeremy, but his Jeremy, that our Jeremy was on. How complicated did that get all of a sudden? Go follow that and listen to those podcasts all about streaming and content creation.
And if you have any questions about any of those things, feel free to throw them in chat.
Yeah. That's why the thing too. Jeremy told me, Giant told me when we were here, when he was like, oh yeah, Jen's a medium. I was like, cool. I'm terrified. He's like, do you want to get on? And I was like, yes, kind of. I don't know where this is going to go.
No, I'm not scary.
No, it's not like I'm terrified of you. It's more like I don't want, like, I don't know. It's one of the moments, like they said, the door opening thing. Do I want to open that opportunity to have that door reopened again in my mind, or do I want to keep it kind of shut? And then the other thing too is like my I have this weird rule, I guess you call it. Like I don't ever seek out mediums. Like I always feel like possibly that could bring bad things to me. And like all my family's the same way. Like we don't seek mediums. If a medium shows up in our life, cool.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, it doesn't sound like you guys really need them either.
Yeah.
A lot of respects.
So it's like one of those things where like it's not like you're evil. It's just like it opens doors, and we don't want doors to open type thing.
Well, as my medium self will tell you that you have the power to keep the door closed.
Cool.
Which you know that. So I feel like you know that, or maybe you needed to be reminded. You do have the power to keep the door shut. If you don't want anything to come through, you don't want to see anything, what you're doing is exactly what you need to do.
Yeah. And you can open it and shut it. Yeah.
Yep.
Hold the
Which
door.
is what you do, essentially.
Yeah.
Thank you, Real. I got your reference.
Yep. Hodor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoaxer says take the door down.
Take the door down.
You don't want to take the door down.
I don't want to take the door away. I want to
Bree doesn't want a door. Hoaxers doesn't want anybody else to have a door.
I want the door just to be cracked enough so I know what's going on and be aware.
Yeah.
Which brings up a good plug there. If anyone's interested, we have Medium Jenny Lee has the Mediumship 2 class coming up, Mediumship Basics 2, which I'll be taking part in again.
June 10th.
June 10th.
You have to have taken the first one, though, which some of you have. So, yeah.
Oh, you got a spirit box. Those things terrify me. I see those online. And I look at those people doing it. Like, I don't know if I want that much like noise in my life.
Yeah.
I've done some minimal ghost investigation. Have tried the spirit box. I never got anything in it, like with the headphones on. It was just straight white noise. What I have had a lot of luck with is EVPs.
Yeah, I've got
EVPs are. I tell people if you just want to try to see if you think any of this stuff is real or not, go somewhere else that's not your house.
Yeah, don't do it in your house.
And do an EVP session and see what you get, because, I mean, to me it seems like almost half the time there's something in there.
You get something whispering in the corner.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I tell people that don't do it in your own house, because if you don't believe in this stuff, you just want to try it out and kind of goof around with it. That's fine, because that's how people get into stuff. But if you're not really like taking it seriously, don't do it in your own house.
Yeah,
You want to get some sleep.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden you will be scared. You're like, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah. Go somewhere else and do it first.
You know?
Yeah.
And it might have just been, Grandpa Gene or whoever come to say hello, but you didn't know. So now you're like freaking out. Is Richard Nixon going to be peering in the window? What the hell?
Watch out. He's going to come around.
Yeah.
They were like, my aunt bought us a Ouija board one time. And I looked at it and I'm like, you can just take this back.
Yeah.
She's like, don't you want to do it in the basement? Like, no, I don't. Not at all.
Yeah.
Take it away. Just go to
Yeah.
your house and do it. I don't want it near me.
The real Mr. Weird said that's a fast track to taking it seriously if you do it in your own home. Yeah, you'll have to take it serious really quick.
A lot of windows. Yeah,
we've done them.
Whose birthday? Amber.
It's Amber's birthday when we do our next medium class.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when you do the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm reading through the chats, a little delayed.
So that's also another Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Another Gemini friend.
Yes.
I have mine coming right around the corner, June 5th.
Yep, Frosty's birthday is June 5th.
Gonna hit the big 3-0.
3-0, good Lord.
You're 30.
Who are you fooling? You trying to fool yourself?
Fool myself. Time is an illusion, Jenny. You say this just as much as anybody else. Time is manufactured.
That means we would have had our kid when you were like 12.
It's possible.
It is possible.
So if you want to feel old there, Giant, listen to the last podcast, not the last one, but the one prior to that. We did an interview with the kid that was running a multi-million-dollar esport program at the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
I think I was listening to that one yesterday, I think.
Yeah, well-known group that had a major controversy a few years ago that blew up, and when he was talking the entire time, he was like, I started when I was 12, and I was like, I was playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
And you're over here prepping a multi-million-dollar company.
Mm.
Cool.
Stuff like that's possible now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there wasn't. I don't even if I was like business minded when I was 12, I don't think there was really any way to get into something like that. Like, because the internet didn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
The level that it does now.
I was just like playing in the dirt outside,
My stone tools and the made out of wood.
Like I was outside. Yeah, I mean, I was outside playing all the time, building
Keisha
tree
says,
forts and
picking up rocks in the driveway. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. There's always, well, I mean, you see it. I mean, we're, talking about being history teachers. I see some of these kids that are 16 years old and just got everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Like brilliant, like know what college they're going to, already know what they want their major to be, like super dedicated, ready to rock and roll. And here I am like, well, when I grow up, like,
I agree. I think like our generation of people are very lost in like this weird realm of like, we're still young and we will grow up one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still figuring it out.
It's just because we grew up in a time where like everything was a major world event multiple times over again. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, Keisha's still picking up rocks in the drive. Okay, so I had a couple questions. So for streaming, because we do play some games here. The games we've been playing recently, we're going to do a Fall Guys night, I think community Fall Guys night sometime soon. And we were playing some First Class Trouble. Have you checked that game out at all? First Class Trouble?
What's that one?
It's kind of like, I would say it's a first person version kind of Among Us.
Among Us.
But it takes place in like an Art Deco kind of spaceship. the graphics are, pretty nice and stuff like that. But it's still like where you're playing with a group and two people are trying to sabotage kind of thing. So it's a cool community game to play.
Very stabby,
Yes.
stabby. I see.
Very stabby, yeah.
Yeah, and fun, and I actually like it a lot better than Among Us, I think. But we played that. But what is your game right now? What have you been doing?
So I play a couple different games, kind of do like try to do a rotation. I play one of the games I play that's really weird. It's really fun. It's oddly people come and join the stream and watch me play. Is Lawnmower Simulator. To put the dad cap on for a while. I get out there and cut the grass online. It sounds weird, but it's somewhat mesmerizing.
It's not weird at all because Giant of the Frost just beat the Power Wash Simulator.
Okay, go get Lawnmower Simulator. Trust me, you'll love every moment of it, and it's really fun.
I swear I'm not old, but I do enjoy Power Wash Simulator, and I graduated onto House Flipper Simulator.
Ooh.
So
you want to be? I like it.
Just staying young.
Yeah,
just staying young.
Trying to stay 29 forever.
Playing the games.
But yeah, no, I like that one's the one that I play. Another one that I do recently I picked up was Bolt Gun, the Warhammer 40K 8-bit game.
Okay.
Doom-like / bloody gore 8-bit fun.
That sounds cool. I would think I would like that one.
It's not as it's clunky, but it's not. It's okay. I can explain it. It's clunky, but not clunky. Like you feel it be clunky, but then you move really smooth at the same time. So it's really kind of a cool mechanic in that way. But overall, it's just 8-bit, gruesome, things blow up. It's pretty fun. That's the most recent one. Been playing a little bit of Fortnite with some friends and people, community members that want to play and join in to play some Fortnite with me. Because I never joined the Fortnite when it was big. I kind of got into it for fun, and it's I'm the old guy playing Fortnite again, holding my moniker at the midbest in the Midwest. The other games I've played, I played Among Us a few times with some community groups. Not a big fan of that stuff. But then I've been playing like Call of Duty. A lot of Call of Duty with a lot of my friends from high school and old school, and we just kind of pop old stories and joke around and have a good time. Most of the time, I try to do a little history in my streams too, and like talk a little history hours and stuff like that. And kind of bring up what somebody from my community will give me some random things. Like we talked about the emu revolution in Australia, and that was a really fun one to dive into.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, Australia got their butt handed to them by a bunch of birds.
Well, emus are terrifying.
Yes, they did. It was hilarious. They're actually very smart animals. It's very surprising they were able to figure out the machine gun nests from the Australians and decided to flank them in a V formation and destroyed them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Emu revolution.
I don't know if I'd ever heard of that before.
That's a good storyline. It's just when you read some of the letters that they wrote, like you're just like, these are birds. How are you having so much trouble? Like they were petitioning for tanks. Like,
for the emus.
It's like manager, like an Australian army is like, we need tanks now. The guy's like, why? They're just birds. They're like,
I think that could only happen in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's ants that can kill you and emus fighting against tanks. Yeah.
Exactly. But then play Call of Duty and we joke around for a couple hours. So I think that's pretty much all the games I really do play right now on a regular basis. But every once in a while I'll get a new game, play it. I played a Gundam SD game for a while, just kind of one of those hack and slash kind of explosive games. But I like to talk mostly in my streams, and people like to press all the buttons and make things. All my lights turn on and off. There's a bunch of noises, things pop up. They enjoy the chaos more than anything.
You do the I think I heard on the podcast, do you do the Warhammer like tabletop figurines and stuff?
Yes, I have a very large pile of shame.
Excellent. That's good. That's good stuff.
Yes. With 10th edition coming out, it's still a growing pile of shame because I don't know what to buy, but I still buy things. And I still paint things. So I am a dedicated Dark Angel army player. I love the lore. I love the storyline. I love the knighthood-ish feeling to them. I really enjoyed when my little Terminators were able to take on really big things and really make people very angry at tournaments, and it was so much fun. Story on that. If you're ever a fan of 40K, the orcs have a Stompa, big robot dude, big dude, monster machine, bunch of guns on it, chainsaws, very deadly. I took 5 of my little dudes with shields and hammers and their knights, and I put them right in front of this giant robot. When you're in combat, they can't move. Even if it's a giant robot, they're in combat, they can't move. So now this robot sitting with 5 of my little dudes. That thing had 100 hit points. My 5 dudes together had 10. So that thing had a lot of hit points. I killed it. I didn't kill my 5 dudes because the way that the rules were perfect is like they had special auras. They're super knights. They kind of have this special ability, and he was so angry after that. He's always the coolest thing is I'm gonna put this thing down and I'm gonna roll him over, and I was just like, boop. He's like,
We're
nice.
channeling your inner emu.
Yeah,
yes, that's what it was.
100%.
I
had him surrounded.
Yes.
I have not played Warhammer. I've always been interested in it because I used to do a lot of tabletop, Dungeons and Dragons. My dad got me into that when I was just a wee little lad. So I played that quite a bit, and Warhammer has always been something that I eyeballed whenever I went into a nerd store, But I haven't jumped into it yet. But it's not impossible. Not impossible.
It fits my like when I went to school or college. My degree followed long lines like military history, and then went down a very deep dive into best way to say it, German military history, focusing on the time of Moltke and all those like Austrian, Prussian generals and the era going kind of from the line formation to a little bit more modern military era, and like just the sheer awe of that, like the peninsula with Napoleon and just all that era of time battle was just amazing to me. So I always enjoyed like the big military sweep moves and stuff like that. So like Warhammer gives me that sweep action. I can do that big motion to one side and kind of change the battle a little bit by whipping my army over here or dropping them back here, and we're going to change that up. So I got into it really hard, very fast. And like
I can see that. I can see that for sure, especially if you're into like military strategy and military history. 100%.
So with 10th edition coming out, it's a good time to get into it. If you have, money to disappear. Just saying.
I think I used to, I still do some. I don't really buy cards anymore, but I did get into Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Medium Janelle probably dropped a pretty penny on that. For what we could at the time. Going and getting my Fallen Angels to create my Fallen Angel deck. But
well, if you look at my name, Diabolic Tutor, that's a Magic card. One of my favorite ones. I still have my favorite
blue card.
Yeah, but
it's a black card. Yeah.
It's honestly kind of a useless card. It's search your library for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle your library. That's all it is. It's really kind of a useless card for the value. But for some reason, I fell in love with it back when I started playing. I played back like middle school, high school, actually competitively. It was like ranked number 2 in my region, which really cool.
That's awesome.
But for some reason, I found that card and I kind of fell in love with it. I always made it into every one of my decks. It was a useless card, really was. But I just kind of wanted it. And then at one point in time, I had every version of it from when I started until I stopped. So I had like 20 different versions of the card, different art for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite art of it, and I kept it. And I sold the rest of them all, but it was one of those things I just really, really wanted it.
Yeah. We really got into Magic for a long time. Actually, our kid likes to play it now, so we play it every once in a while with him.
We've kind of gotten back into it again, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back into it, but I play it on the app. I play the mobile because it's easier and I don't really have to spend money on it.
It's so
Yeah,
much
exactly.
easier. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then like we used to spend a lot of, well, see, once again, this is like, well, it's internet days, but it's like when the internet wasn't as easy to use. So it's like we would all, be, half a bottle of whiskey in while we were playing. And then someone would bring up something about the rules. And so then like the next 30 minutes just became an argument about what phase this happened in. And, there was no easy way to settle the argument.
Like, yeah. Read this way, not that way. Yeah. I love those.
Those were actual table flipping times, Hogsters.
Actual
Really
table
flipping times.
Yeah.
I see you coming into Total War. Like, I love the Total War series, like video game Total War. I don't stream them because my computer can't handle stream and Total War.
Yeah.
I love the Total War
I feel
series.
you. I feel you about that.
Yeah. So I play those offline. I like that. Another game I like offline is what's the one I play? It's what's it called? It's a World at War game type style. It's very mechanical. It's very time consuming. It's like World War II, and you're like doing everything from like trade to manufacturing to at home to away, and just, like I have to stop it every once.
Like a war simulator, essentially.
Like full tilt. Like there's no battle war. It's just like you kind of move the guys where they're gonna fight, but like it is very intense.
I could see that.
I have to like every once in a while, like, okay, I gotta stop. Like those games you play like one more turn.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Yep.
It's not that. It's like okay, I do one more turn. It's like I'm now here for the next 4 years.
That's kind of I'm doing that with sports right now. So I'm playing the new MLB The Show, but I've gotten to where I don't actually play any of the baseball games themselves. I just run the organization, like doing the drafts and contracts and like building the minor leagues and sending people down and bringing people up and just completely being like a baseball nerd.
Enjoy this game. I'll send it to you. Probably like lose your mind too, like I did. And I was doing it while I was working one time, and the principal was sending me messages. He's like, "Why aren't you answering?" I'm like, "They're attacking France right now." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, never mind. What do you need? It's like my resources are depleting. The power lines are down, and I need to rebuild the infrastructure here. I don't care about your grades.
What do you want, man? Yeah.
There's greater things at risk. So.
Well, excellent. Maybe we can get together sometime and play some games or something. I'm always down. Yeah. I'm not good at any of them, but I'm always willing to play.
Again, midbest in the Midwest. I take it. I hold it close to my heart. It's what I do.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always say when it comes to games now, especially like first-person shooters. Look, man, when I was a kid, I didn't get to build like my Twitch skills, like my Twitch reflexes for video games. I played like Final Fantasy. It was all strategy-based and like top-down, like
you had time to think, process sometimes.
Yeah. And now it's all like quick, like flick the mouse or the controller for like a headshot. And I just, as much as I play, like I get all right, but like I'm never going to be at the top of the leaderboard. You know what I mean?
We're too old.
Yeah.
We're in the to be honest, we're in the geriatric league. Like we're the player that shouldn't play anymore, but does every once in a while.
Yeah.
So like you brought up the fact I do esports too. Like I'm an esport coach for my high school. So I do that with a bunch of young kids. I think they're super good at everything. And you try and tell them you're not. And I also work with I coach an esport program called Volvin is my group that kind of coach them on stream metrics and stream abilities as well as like gaming a little bit here and there. And I talked to a few kids, especially my high schoolers, like I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. I'm like, you're gonna do it till you're 22. And then at the point of time you're old. They're like, well, what do you mean? Like, you're done. 22, you're done. No one's gonna sign you after 22. If you do get signed, that's like a Hail Mary. You made it work. Somehow you didn't kill yourself yet. You're good. 25 is your max. 26, you're definitely too old and you're out. And I explained like just because by your time you're 25, your reflexes and your brain is not processing the same level you did when you were 16. You were 18. You're processing at a slower speed. Your eye reflections, your eye timing is off, you're slow there, your joints start to go, your fine motor skills are gone. So
26. Good Lord.
It's all over.
That's
and
esports.
Frosty's 29. Man, you're just ancient.
You're far gone.
Because I have a friend that also played the old school esport world MLG back in the day when he did Halo, and his knuckles, like this part of his knuckles are pretty thick, like they're messed up.
Oh.
Playing, because you're playing fine motor skills at the competitive level so much that that's all messed up. Sorry to ruin your dreams, all.
Yeah, sports injuries.
Yeah. I know. If you thought like baseball and football players had an early career, esports is a flash in the pan.
There is talks of a geriatrics league where it's the older groups. That's out there. There's some people starting it up, but
that would be fun.
Well, I've heard there's been some issues now with like marketing esports, and like esports leagues like having some trouble that are like making trying to make it profitable. And I wonder if that wouldn't be one fix for that, actually, because, I mean, as we know from streaming and everything else, it's all about branding, and like even like sports, it's all about the stars, right? It's about LeBron James. It's about Tom Brady. It's about, Joey Votto or Aaron Judge or whoever the major sports person is. But if you're already out of your league by 22, by the time you get that person like, out in front of the cameras and trying to build your reputation and your sport and all that stuff, and you're gone, then all of a sudden you're trying to find the next kid to be able to market. I feel like that would be beneficial because even if it wasn't the better gameplay, people might, I don't know, you might be able to market it better if that makes any sense. I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. I think that I point to like Ninja and like Dr. Disrespect and Ajax and a few other big names that were young and they were good, and then they kind of are now they're much older, and like Ninja being the one guy that won the millions of dollars really early and really big, and now you see them
there's a 13-year-old
but now he can't
taking them out on stream.
Flipping stuff over,
flipping tables.
Don't do it, hoaxsters. Don't do it.
When you flip your computer desk, you also flip your computer. So you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They like to flip tables in chat when they don't get.
Yeah.
When they don't win the.
When they don't get a rating.
Yeah.
And then pretend there's teacups on them and stuff. It's fun. It's good time.
There they go.
It's WWE Attitude Era in chat. Which is tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday, right? So get all your tables set up and get them ready.
Yeah. Put the teacups out. Get ready to flip them.
I had a blast. Thanks for coming on tonight and telling us your stories. It's not easy to get out there and put all that out there, so I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I appreciate for having me on. It's always fun talking about it. And then, like I said, now that I've talked to you, maybe I'll start seeing the random laundry ghosts, I'm going to call them, and see what he's up to, or they're up to.
Or not. You can decide not to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, don't stay a stranger. Well, then maybe we can hook up and play some games sometime or do something so yeah.
You got my DM, so I'll be happy to do that, and hopefully I see some more people, hanging out with me here or there, and podcast. There's some good information in there, especially for your streamer or esport aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, don't leave yet because we're going to talk to you after we exit the Twitchiverse.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
I got to do my I'll do a false finish.
The way you say that and you creepily turn away.
Looking for Richard Nixon.
Go follow.
Yeah, Twitch let me get my Nixon mask.
Twitch TV, Diabolic Tutor 1. You can go listen to In Bed by 9 wherever you find your podcast, just like The Witching Hours. You can find it wherever you prefer.
At the top.
Wherever you prefer to listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, all of those wonderful places. Go there. Leave a rating for both of them if that specific one has a rating. Those are so important, and it helps people be able to find these podcasts that we're putting out there that people can get some good information from. Thanks everyone who came by to hang out tonight. All of you wonderful people. I think most of you, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow night on Medium Ginny Lee stream. So hit up Medium Ginny Lee at Twitch and you can get your own personal medium or tarot card reading. And then I think, speaking of games, I think we were going to try to do a game night this weekend. So I think we're trying to either play, I think Fall Guys.
Fall Guys is the major one.
And that's free to play off Epic. So if you want to get it downloaded, we can create a private server from what I understand now.
Yeah, that's what Yo Erica's been up to lately.
So we can have as many weirdos as we want in there, and we can all give each other a hard time and try to knock each other off stuff and all that fun stuff. So that's what we have going on. Thank you, everyone, once again, and we will see you all next time.